Ladies and gentlemen, what a treat we have in store here on the Sports Report to kick off today's show. And our guest is arguably one of the most important guests that we've had on in show history because she's actually fighting upcoming here on April the 24th on Fight TV for an event, the Lionesses, that actually here at Sportinarium, we're behind in promoting, of course, with our very good friends, Assassins Promotions. And she's somebody that you're going to remember for years to come because she rocks you like a hurricane. She's undefeated. She has stormed the women's boxing scene. We cannot wait for her upcoming fight here on April the 24th against Juliet Winter. And without further ado, here on the Sports Report, the #1 global sports show, Nicola! Okay. No. Whoa. My friend, how are you?
I'm really good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very good, and it's a tremendous honor to speak with you. I can't thank you enough for the opportunity. I also want to give a huge shout out to everybody at Sportinarium who I know has been behind you, including your trainer and manager, Chris Boyle, who we've had the honor to speak with. One of another fighters that you know very well with, the blonde bomber, Holly Tao. We spoke with them not too long ago. And also, most importantly, Richie and Lakey, of course, the brains behind Sportinarium and ARB. So I want to give a huge shout out to all of them, especially here in the entire team at Sportinarium. And Nicola, it's a tremendous honor to speak with you here. And you have an upcoming fight on April the 24th, which is not too far away. So we're literally getting probably the last interview you're going to do before you go and fight here in the Lionesses event coming up. And for our worldwide audience listening here on Sportinarium, talk about the upcoming fight here on April 24th and your opponent, Juliet Winter.
Yeah, so I'm boxing on the 24th of April. It's a behind closed doors show, which is in Aberdeen, which it's going to be on Fight TV, which is free to watch. So everybody can watch it, download the app, and you can watch it worldwide for free. And I'm boxing Juliet Winter. So I don't really know much about her, but I know she's had quite a few more fights than me, but it should be a really good fight. Really excited.
Absolutely. And we're very excited about this fight. And I was also curious on, you mentioned Fight TV, and we mentioned that here at the top. And how much does this mean to you to be able to fight on Fight TV?
It's really exciting. I've fought on Fight TV before for my last fight, but it was a pay-per-view card. But I think with this one being free to view, I think it's going to attract a big audience worldwide as well. So I think there'll be a lot of people tuning into this one. And I think it's really exciting, and I'm proud to be on the show.
We're proud to be able to watch you. We're going to be watching you and the rest of the card here coming up on the 24th. And do you fight differently or train for this differently or prepare mentally different, knowing the fact that you're going to have a larger audience for this fight than, say, the first two fights?
I'd say I'm preparing pretty much the same. I've done a camp, but this one's been pushed back quite a few times. So I've been in quite a long camp this time, but I've stayed focused. I'm working on things I needed to work on from my last two fights and what we've identified in sparring. So just constantly improving and just staying focused and focusing on that date. Now that date's locked in, I'm just focusing on it and just training hard.
I'm sure you're training hard, and you definitely pack a pretty mean punch, and we can clearly see why you're undefeated and dominated so far in your two professional fights. And of course, you had a decorated career as an amateur boxer. But you also said something about Juliet Winter, and that Juliet Winter has fought more professionally than you. I'm curious on how do you prepare then for somebody like a Juliet Winter that has fought a lot professionally and obviously much more than you fought professionally? I mean, for our worldwide audience listening here on Sportinarium, Nicola, talk to me on how do you prepare for Juliet Winter?
I think you just need to stay focused and use all the tools I've got in my toolbox that I've been working on. And she's had more professional fights than me, looking at the record, but I'm not sure if she's done amateur before. I think when I've looked into it, she's done some kickboxing, but kickboxing is totally different to boxing. So I've got my amateur experience. I've got the experience from being in the ring as an amateur. I've done big competitions in the amateurs, so the championships, big box cups and tournaments. So I've got that experience behind me. So I'm just staying focused and just working on things, just constantly improve. And I'm just going to use everything I've got in my toolbox and to box her on the night.
Well, that toolbox we know has a lot of tools in there. And we're definitely glad, Nicola, that they don't allow kickboxing here in this event, because I can only imagine what that would be like. But I also want to talk about Chris Boyle, because Chris Boyle has done a lot for the boxing community, especially for a lot of female fighters like yourself and Holly Tao, who we spoke with not too long ago. And how helpful has Chris Boyle been for your career so far?
Oh, Chris is amazing. Been with Chris since I started as an amateur. So getting on 7 years now I've been with Chris. So we've gone through the amateurs together. I turned pro with him. So the first female to turn pro with Chris. I had a good debut and everything. The way he prepares us for fights is amazing. So, and then obviously we've got Holly and there's another girl, Ellie, turning pro as well. And along with Assassin Promotions, they're really pushing female boxing, and it's had a big input on this card as well. So he's really pushing it. And like I said, through the amateurs and the professionals, is an amazing coach. He puts those boxers first, everything he does.
Absolutely. And Chris is one of the more selfless people I've gotten to know, and especially for what he does in the female boxing community. And it has been long overdue that the female boxing community is getting the recognition that it deserves. And one of those reasons why the female boxing community is getting the recognition it's getting the due from fighters like yourself and Holly and Carly Skelly, who came on not too long ago, and Susie Ramadan, the first lady of Australian women's boxing, is Assassins Promotions. And this is a personal one, obviously, for us here at Sportinarium. And talk about how helpful Assassins Promotions has been to you.
Assassin Promotions have been really helpful, like getting me the fights and getting me the right fights as well. And well, if it weren't for the COVID lockdowns and everything, I'd have had a lot more fights than the two that I've had. I know they'll keep me busy, and they are really pushing female boxing, and they're pushing for like titles, and they're working with people to try and get the right titles as well, and putting us in for those titles at the right time. And I trust them 100% that they're going to do that.
Absolutely. We definitely know that they will, because they're already promoting another fight that you're going to be a part of on September the 4th. So there is a lot going on here with Assassins Promotions, and that's why we are honored to have here on the Sports Report the #1 global sports show, that is Nicola the Hurricane Hopewell, who's coming up here for a huge fight on April the 24th on Fight TV, which everybody can see here for free. So there's no excuses. When it comes to this one. You got to make sure you download the app and watch this fight. She's got a huge fight coming up here against Juliet Winter. She has dominated so far in her first 2 professional fights, and we expect that to continue here. And I am the host of the Sports Report, the Reverend Tom Brice, and we are here on Sportinarium talking with Nicola the Hurricane Hopewell to kick off today's show. It is a tremendous honor to speak with Nicola and all the great things that she is doing in the ring and outside the ring. And Nicola, also for our worldwide audience listening here on Sportinarium, talk about some of your sponsors who've helped you have the ability to train and be able to fight coming up here on April the 24th.
Yeah, so I've got some good sponsors behind me. I've got KC Sofas, which they're a local business. The owner actually lives in Worksop, and they were the first sponsor to come on board from my first fight. So they've got 6 shops there in Worksop, Castleford, Sheffield, Lincoln, Doncaster and Barnsley. So they sell sofas, furniture, beds, everything like that. So they're really supportive. And then I've got Jenny Beckett's Cost Cutter store in Mansfield. Again, they've been on board since my first fight. The owners of the shop, their 2 children actually go to the same boxing gym as me. They're quite young though, they're not old enough to start competing, but it's a family run shop, so it's good to have them on board, and also being part of X Boxing Academy as well. I've got Round One Boxing, so they're an online boxing and fitness equipment store. So if you need any boxing equipment or fitness equipment, check them out. They were founded in Brighton. Then I've got Jack Bull Nutrition. So Jack Bull supply me with all my vitamins and supplements throughout my camps, and then just everyday vitamins when I'm not in a camp. They also do quite a lot for the homeless veterans. So they do like boxes filled with supplements, vitamins, and any profit that they make on those, all the money goes to homeless veterans. And then finally, I've got Richard's Boxing, which has recently come on board, and he lives in Australia, and he's also one of Ebony Bridges' main sponsors. So it's really good for him to be on board as well, and he's really supportive. I speak to him quite a lot, so I'm really glad he's on board.
A huge shout out to all of them. I know that we can find them on Twitter and Instagram, so I want to make sure that we give all of them a shout out here. And you brought up Ebony Bridges, and Ebony Bridges has been the talk of not just women's boxing, but all of professional boxing of late here. And talk to me about what advice she gives you for this upcoming fight and for your career as a whole.
Well, Ebony's like a close friend of mine, and she's really supportive. I think mainly like her biggest advice is like just be you, and like don't quit on anything you do, and just work hard. And I look up to Ebony quite a lot because she's got a full-time job as well as doing all the boxing, and like she just doesn't stop basically. She's on the go all the time. But with me having a full-time job and juggling my boxing as well, I can like quite relate to it. So yeah, it's just a bit of encouragement really, and yeah, just someone to look up to. And she's pushed and pushed and pushed and worked hard, and she's finally got that world title shot, which I hope she does really well in on and gets that win on Saturday.
Oh, we know she's definitely going to get that win, and huge shout out to her. And I know that she's opening a lot of doors, I think, for women's boxing, and we know that you're going to join her in the near and distant future. But you said something, Nicola, that's interesting, and I want to go back to that because we had talked about this with Carly Skelly when she came on a few times not too long ago here on the show, and that you have a full-time job and yet you're a professional fighter. I mean, it's a huge sacrifice of your life to be able to fight. It's not just like playing a football game. It's not just like playing a basketball game or picking up a tennis racket. As a professional fighter, there's a lot that's involved in that. I mean, talk to me about how you juggle that in terms of having a 9-to-5 job and then also being a professional fighter who's working her way up to winning world titles and doing the things that you're doing. So talk to me about that for our worldwide audience here on Sportinarium.
I guess really I just have to manage my time well, like early mornings. I need to get my runs in early in the morning. I work 8 till 4:30. So I'm working from home most of the time at the minute, but if not, I'm in an office. I'm sat down all day, so sometimes it can be really hard getting up and moving out my chair, which obviously doesn't help with like weight and stuff. So I kind of need to work extra hard at training. But yeah, at the minute, I get up early, do my run, work 8 till 4, gym at night time, getting my boxing in, and then I have gym on a Saturday and I have Sunday as a rest day. So if I need to be at the gym at a certain time, I'd be there at a certain time. I finish work at a certain time. It's just more managing my time and making sure I can fit everything in.
Sounds like you're Wonder Woman, let alone a professional boxer. I'm trying to keep a scorecard here, Nicola, and all the things that you're doing. My God, I mean, God bless you, obviously. And we know that you're going to do bigger and better things coming up here. But you've also fought before COVID and during COVID. Have you noticed a difference in maybe how you've prepared in terms of pre-COVID and during COVID?
Before COVID, it was really good where it was like, I went to a few other gyms, like getting sparring in. But apart from that, like everything else has pretty much been the same, like the pad work, and we've been sparring in the gym. The rest of the preparation's been pretty much the same. Then my second one, we did most of the sparring within the gym because it was like just after the full lockdown that we had. So we did all the sparring in the gym. There was only the professionals allowed in the gym anyway. So we got the pad work in, the sparring and every other bits of training. But then for this fight, now the restrictions have started lifting a little bit. We've been having other girls come to our gym sparring. So I have a different sparring partners in preparation for this fight, which is good because like I've had tall people, I've had bigger people to spar. So I've had a good range this time.
Yeah, I've noticed that since we've spoken with a few different fighters, like we spoke with Carly about 2 months ago, we spoke with Holly about maybe, I would say 5 or 6 weeks ago, we spoke with Holly, and then we spoke with Susie Ramadan at the beginning of the year. And I do notice a little bit of a difference. I think people feel a little bit better about things. I think that things are going in the direction that we need to go into. So I think that there's a little more optimism optimism, and obviously having this fight here on April the 24th plays a big part in that. But speaking of the fight on the 24th, I know that the fight has been moved a couple of different times, and the most recent adjustment was from April 3rd to the 24th. I mean, how do you prepare fighting for something that got moved around a couple of different times? I mean, did that impact you at all? I mean, talk to me about the fight and being moved a couple of different times and maybe how that impacted you at all.
Yeah, it's been moved quite a few times. So originally it was supposed to happen in November, but then it got cancelled and we knew that it wasn't then going to happen until at least January. But then January came and we were still in the lockdown. So we kind of knew it wasn't going to happen then. And then we got the date of it. So we didn't really start the camp as much as what we would do because it wasn't like a lockdown date. But then the 3rd of April, that date was locked down. So we started camp for that. But I guess from the 3rd to the 24th, it's only 3 weeks. And I feel like 3 weeks, it's not such a long time, so it's just a bit of extra preparation, isn't it? And I think the biggest thing is like you mentally prepare yourself, like I'm fighting on this day, and then it moves like short notice, but 3 weeks it's just a little bit extra preparation, so it's all good.
Know it's going to be more than good. And you have already another fight coming up here on September the 4th, which sounds like a while from now, but it's really not. I mean, you have another fight on the 4th of September. You have this one coming up here in a couple of weeks. Do you look at that fight at all? Do you prepare for that? I mean, regardless of the outcome, we know it's going to be a first round knockout here on the 24th, but when do you start preparing for that fight? Let's say for September the 4th. I mean, do you break for a couple of weeks? Do you just resume training the next day? I mean, talk to me about the timeline from April the 24th when you fight Juliet Winter to the next fight on September the 4th, which obviously we're here at Sportinarium are going to play a big role in. So talk to me about that preparation process from the winter fight going into September the 4th.
I'll be back in the gym. I'll probably have 1 or 2 days off and a few days off. We'll probably nip and get some fast food or have something nice to eat. But then, yeah, after that, I'll be back in the gym because I think now shows are up and coming. I might get fights before September the 4th. And I know there might be one on the 10th of July. So there might be other shows between them. So from July the 24th, I'll have a few days off and then I'll be back in the gym. I'll be ticking over until I get a call for a date because now the restrictions have started lifting and shows are happening. We could just get a call any time. So I just need to stay ready, really. And then if there are no fights, then September the 4th is my next one. My coach will just tell me the date that we're starting a full fight camp. But until then, I'll just keep ticking over in the gym.
Oh, listen, we know that you are going to be kicking ass in the gym. You are going to be dominating. Whether it's May the 26th, July the 10th, September 4th, August 1st, you know that you're going to be ready. So I have no doubt because knowing Chris and knowing the kind of trainer that he is, you are going to be ready and some. But I was also curious about this, especially for our worldwide audience here on Sportinarium, because we do a lot of work with a wrestling promotion in Barrow called Knockout Wrestling. They've meant a lot to us here over the past couple of months, and we're very familiar with Barrow and sort of the geography and the territory of it. But your debut fight actually took place in Barrow, and I wanted to talk about that for our worldwide audience here on Sportinarium and what that experience was like fighting in Barrow.
Yeah, it was really good. It took us about 3 hours to get there from where I live, but I boxed at Hoops Basketball Centre in Barrow. Great venue. They're like a little bit of a balcony and it was packed. It's such a big audience there, but I loved it. I loved the audience being there and them all being behind you. So yeah, it was different to my second fight where there were no people there at all because that were behind closed doors. So I'm glad that I got my debut at Barrow where we could actually have an audience.
At Barrow, the crowd there, you almost feed off that crowd because it's a diverse crowd in Barrow because you kind of have a family-friendly atmosphere. It's very small townish. Everybody in Barrow knows one another. So if you fight in Barrow, most likely, even if somebody didn't attend that fight, they would have known that you would have fought there. And talk to me about that crowd because, again, we've gotten to know Barrow a little bit. We know Knockout Wrestling. We've seen the venue that they take place their events in, obviously before COVID and Cloud9 alumni in the lounge. And did you kind of feel that you fed off the crowd a bit and how much they were into it and how diverse that crowd was? I mean, talk to me about that.
Yeah, I did actually. It's funny you've mentioned that because I was actually classed as the home fighter for that fight. But I did feel that the whole crowd was behind me. When I walked out and they were all clapping and cheering and even through the fight and when I won, like the whole place was behind me and they didn't know me. They didn't have a clue who I was, it being my debut as well. But yeah, they were really behind me and I 100% know what you mean about the crowd at Barrow. And I feel like if I were to go back again, they'd be the same.
Oh, we know that it's going to be the same because we have a lot of friends and a lot of supporters in Barrow. So listen, Nicola, we're going to definitely make sure that happens. And these are some of the reasons why that we are honored to have on the Sports Report the #1 global sports show, one of our #1 fighters who's going to rock you like a hurricane. And that is Hopewell. As I am the host of the Sports Report, the Reverend Tom Brice. And for more information on the Sports Report, you can go to sportsreportx.com. And to listen to all of our archives, you can go to soundcloud.com/the Sports Report 2019 or subscribe to our YouTube page now at the Sports Report, the #1 global sports show where you can get loads of sports report related content. And as always, most importantly, a huge shout out to the entire team here at Sportinarium, which Nicola knows very well, including Lakey, Arv, Sean, who does a phenomenal job with the YouTube Sportinarium TV page, Steve, Richie, Ryan, Connor, Martin, Susie, who of course interviewed Nicola, Sasha, our old friend Mike Lipinski, DJ 80, Dale, Dave, everybody at Sportinarium that has made us the #1 global sports show. And you can follow Sportinarium on Instagram, on Twitter at Sportinarium. You can like Sportinarium on Facebook at Sportinarium Media, and you can subscribe to the aforementioned Sportinarium TV YouTube page at Sportinarium TV. And most importantly as well, you can listen to the Sports Report Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. UK time on Sportinarium.com. That's Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. UK time, and 24 hours a day. You can listen to Sportinarium.com and the great content that we have here on this station, including women's fight news, which does a phenomenal job when it comes to covering all of the great fighters here, especially Nicola, who was on the show, and In the Fight, and the Spartan show. Huge shout out to Lakey and Arv, and the DJ 80 Sunday chill out sessions, and Sportinarium music. Everybody at Sportinarium here has so many great shows, and you can check them out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year on Sportinarium.com. And one of those reasons why Sportinarium is great is our guest here to kick off today's show, and that is Nicola Hopewell, who has a huge fight coming up here. It's the Lionesses on Fight TV, April the 24th. She is fighting Juliet Winter. She has dominated so far in her first 2 fights professionally. She is undefeated. We expect that to continue. That's why she rocks you like a hurricane, and we are talking all things related to her career and the upcoming fight on April the 24th on Fight TV. So there is no excuses, everybody. You know what you need to do. Go to Fight TV and watch her and the rest of the card coming up here, because we know it is going to be a knockout, a first-round knockout. Nicola, for a worldwide audience listening here on Sportinarium, you talked about your hometown when we had talked about Barrow, and I know that you're from Worksop, and you're also the first female fighter to ever come out of Worksop. But for a worldwide audience listening here on Sportinarium, talk about Worksop and what it was like growing up there.
So Worksop's I can describe it as like a little market town, and it's in between Sheffield and Nottingham, so they're quite big cities in the UK. So I'm probably slap bang in the middle of them. Growing up here, it's really good. We're pretty much about 10 minutes away from Columba Park, so it's a big national park with a big lake. It's always nice to nip up there, and for anyone who knows Sherwood Forest, it's only a 10-minute drive away, so you can like visit the Robin Hood's tree, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's been good growing up here. It's got everything I really needed.
And it's a wonderful place to visit. It has some wonderful shops. And I know that this summer, everybody's going to be excited to be back outside and being amongst each other. So it is a wonderful place to visit. And I encourage everybody that should go out there and have that opportunity to visit Worksop. And you're also the first female boxer to come out of Worksop. And that's a pretty big deal. That's monumental. How much does that mean to you to be the first female boxer to come out of Worksop?
It means a lot to me. I think I'm definitely the first professional female boxer, and I do believe that I'm the first amateur female boxer to come out of Worksop as well. So it's massive, and I'm really proud of it.
And you should be, and congratulations to you. We know that you are going to do bigger and better things, and I see a lot of similarities with you and Susie Ramadan and how much she has represented Australia and what she's meant to that country. And I think in a lot of ways you were going to mean that to Worksop. And I was curious, and one of the most important parts, I mean, how'd you get into boxing?
The gym opened just down the road from where I live, and Chris actually lives not far away from me, just lives around the corner from me. And he opened the gym, and his wife said, shall we pop down and do this box exercise class that he was doing? So I just went down with her, and then when I got into it, Chris then said that there was different classes available that I could go to learn more of the boxing side and do the pads, do the sparring, the body sparring, and more of the fitness side, because I only went to get fit because I didn't start till I was 23, and that was mainly because there wasn't a boxing gym until Chris opened. And then I just went to get fit, because when I was at school I was in like the football teams, the athletics teams, netball teams, I was in all the sports teams, and I also went to dancing classes and took part in competitions from being 5 years old to 17 years old. And then when I left school and then quit dancing, I didn't really do anything until I started boxing, so my fitness had decreased really, and it took me a while to get my fitness back up to what it was, but that was my main reason. And then I just kind of just fell in love with doing it and just wanted to keep learning and progressing. And I think it was only about 9 months that I'd been going, and Chris said, I think you're ready for your medical, and I had my medical, and then I was on the show as soon as I'd had the medical. So I was the first female amateur to appear on of the Xbox shows, so I'm really proud of that.
You should absolutely be proud of that, and we know that you are going to do bigger and better things. And again, a huge shout out to Chris Boyle, because Chris Boyle does so much for our communities in the UK, and I don't think that people realize what Chris has done for so many different people. And a lot of those things go unnoticed, and we're not going to mention all of them, but I think the people know in your town and across the UK how much Chris has meant to the community, not just to the boxing community, not just to the female boxing community, but the community as a whole. So I want to give Chris a huge shout out. And I got to ask you this question, Nicola. It's kind of a fun one, but you were on Ninja Warrior UK. I mean, you got to talk to us about that. You got to talk to us about that experience.
So it's quite funny. So one of my cousins who was on holiday at the time, and she saw it pop up on Facebook that they were looking for people to take part, and she sent it me on a message, the application. She said, oh, I dare you to apply. So just as a joke, I applied for it, and then a few weeks later I had an email to say I needed to go to Manchester for an interview and some fitness tests. And then I passed the fitness test and I did the interview, and then I got another email a few weeks after that saying that I'd been successful and I could appear on the show. So it started off as a bit of a dare, really, a silly dare between me and my cousin. And then I ended up on the show. Honestly, it's so hard when you look at it, when you're watching it at home. You don't realise like the stepping stones at the beginning. You don't realise how far apart they are. I only just made it, and the people who took me, they said if you don't make it past the stepping stones, you're walking home, and it's about 2 hours away. So I don't know how I did it, but I got to the second stage, I think I did, and then I fell in the water. If anybody's watching and wants to check it out, if you put Nicola Hopewell Ninja Warrior into YouTube, it'll come up straight away. It's a funny watch when I hit the water. It's so cold.
Well, we weren't going to comment on that part. Yeah, we weren't going to comment on that part. We were going to say, hey, you did great and you did a great job.
Yeah, it was like a full day of filming, like behind the scenes, and then actually doing the course. But it was an amazing experience. I'd 100% do it again.
Next time you're going to do it, as a world champion and a celebrity, which you already are, but you're going to be an even bigger celebrity. So it's going to be a lot different, I'm sure, next time. And speaking about celebrities and speaking about people that really do a lot, and we've talked a lot about Chris, but I also want to acknowledge, again, the team at Sportinarium, because I know that you have some experience with Lakey and Arv especially, and they have meant a lot to the boxing community. Arv obviously being a professional fighter, Lakey obviously having a lot of experience in the fight world and the Spartan show. And for a worldwide audience here listening on Sportinarium, I mean, talk about how helpful Sportinarium has been for you.
Sportinarium's been massive, helping me build my profile up on social media and just every day as well. Like even just dropping me a message like Lakey. I always speak to Lakey. He's making me profile videos, some promo videos, and what they've done for the 24th of April, making those videos and making them really eye-catching and for us to share on all our social medias. That's been a massive help because it's not something that I have time to do, and I've not got the equipment to do it either. So it's massive help. I know he's put one together for the team for the show, and then they're going to be doing some individual ones as well, so that's something to keep your eye out for. And then also the show on the 4th of September, which I'm really looking forward to, and what I've heard, they're really pushing that show and it's going to be amazing and a big event, so I can't wait to take part in that.
Absolutely. And a tremendous shout out, especially to everybody at Sportinarium, but Lakey, Arv, Sean, Steve, Richie, especially, because Sportinarium has not just done a lot for us here on the Sports Report, but for fighters like Nicola, fighters like Carly, fighters like Susie, fighters like Holly, trainers and managers like Chris. Sportinarium gets it and how important the female boxing community is. And it has been long overdue that you guys are getting the attention and the recognition that you deserve. So I want to give a huge shout out to everybody at Sportinarium. We cannot thank them enough. Also want to acknowledge Susie, who's with us and does a great job with women's fight news. I speak to Susie very regularly, and a lot of her interviews I listen to, not just as somebody who's on Sportinarium and who's in the business, but as a fan of women's boxing, as a fan of what you guys all do. So I want to acknowledge Susie, and I can't thank her enough for all the great things that she does, and that's why we're honored to have on the Sports Report for a few more minutes Nicola the Hurricane Hopewell, who's getting ready for a huge fight coming up here on April the 24th on Fight TV. The Lionesses, she is fighting Juliet Winter. She is undefeated so far, so we know that that is going to continue here. We are honored to talk about that fight and all the great things in Nicola the Hurricane Hopewell's career, as I am the host of the Sports Report, the Reverend Tom Brice, and we are talking for a few more minutes with Nicola Hopewell and all the great things that she's doing in the ring. And Nicola, for a worldwide audience, we've talked a lot about Holly Tal, the blonde bomber, and I got to ask you, what's it like seeing her up close? I mean, does she hit as hard as they say?
Yeah, she does, yeah. she's quite powerful. I spar Holly quite a lot, and Holly's a few weights above me, but our spars, they're something to watch. They're definitely worth a watch. We're so competitive. So I started in the gym, and Holly started a few years after me. So I think she was only about 11 years old when she started, maybe 12. So I've known her, I've seen her grow up, and we've always trained together. We've always sparred together as amateurs. We've been to competitions abroad and in the UK as well. We've been on the same shows. So yeah, she's a big part of my boxing career, really. And obviously we help each other prepare for fights. We're always there for each other, and we're always there for each other to spar. And Holly's really good. She's very technical, and you can get everything from a spar from Holly, the work rate, just the general work. So yeah, big shout out to Holly. She's a top boxer, and I just want to thank her really for training with her and sparring.
Absolutely. And we can clearly see why they call her the blonde bomber after hearing what you had to say. And you hit pretty hard in your own right. I mean, I've seen some of your footage, and I've gotten to know you over the past few months here, being familiar with your career on Sportinarium. And Holly hits just as hard as you. I'm not going to say she hits harder than you, but she hits just as hard as you. So I want to give a huge
I'd say we're about the same.
I'm going to plead the fifth. One thing I've learned in life is to plead the fifth when it comes to that. We're not going to compare and contrast. We're just going to say that we love you both. And somebody else that we love, and we've talked about her a couple of times, and it's Carly the Thumper Skelly. And obviously we've spoken to her a couple of different times on the show. And what did you learn from your experiences in sparring and from her in the gym with you over the past few weeks? I mean, talk to me about Carly Skelly.
So Carly, I've known Carly quite a few years. I knew her from the amateurs, and she was actually a roommate. We went away. Well, we went to Sheffield to the EIS where all the GB boxers train. So we went there for a weekend, and she was my roommate, and we were sparring a team that came over from Italy, and me and Carly also did some sparring. So I knew her from there. We were the same weight, but I'd not actually boxed Carly competitively, but sparring wise, I did as an amateur. And then a few weeks ago, I sparred her at her gym, and she's southpaw and she's really strong. She's really strong for a weight. But the learnings I took from it was just basically be gritty and get stuck in there with her, and just, I guess, with her being in a southpaw stance as well. So just working on that, because we're all, well, we kind of switch at our gym. We switch our stances, but just to spar someone that's southpaw and also who's quite strong as well, definitely some big learnings come out of that.
Absolutely. I can see why you learned so much from her, and I want to give her a huge shout out. And we know that a couple of different things have happened to her, and we know that those things are going to sort itself out, and she is going to hold a title in the near and distant future, just like you are. And that's why also everybody needs to follow on Twitter and Instagram Nicola the Hurricane Hopewell. They can do that on Twitter and Instagram at Boxer Hopewell. That's Twitter and Instagram at Boxer Hopewell. We'll plug that one more time here in your closing thoughts here very shortly. But I wanted to also ask you, Nicola, for our worldwide audience listening here on Sportinarium, what are your goals here for 2021?
My goals for 2021, I just want to get out as much as I can and get the experience and the good experience to eventually box for the titles. And yeah, maybe a title will come in 2021. I'm not sure, but we never know. But now the shows have started coming up, I just want to get the experience and I want to get out there. So I'm hoping a title will come quite soon.
Well, we know that the first step is going to be April 24th against Juliet Winter. So, Miss Winter, you better be prepared for a hurricane, because Nicola is going to rock you like a hurricane and some. So, April 24th, we know, is going to be the first step when it comes to Nicola Hopewell holding a world title and some. So, 2021, we know, is going to be a banner year for Nicola the Hurricane Hopewell. We're very excited about the future that we're going to see from you here. And of course, everybody else here that's involved with the Xbox Academy, including Holly and Ellie Collison, everybody at the Academy, I know is going to do bigger and better things. But I know, Nicola, you have had a lot of moments. You've had many things that have happened to you as an amateur and a professional. You've won titles. You're going to win titles as a professional. It's only a matter of time. But I was wondering if there's one or two moments that stand out most in your career so far. So, Nicola, for our worldwide audience listening here on Sportinarium, is there one or two moments that stand out in your career most so far?
Yeah, there's a few. I'll do one from my amateur and one from my pro. So amateur, there was a girl on the England, I'll not name her, but there was a girl on the England squad who I boxed quite early on in my career, and she was boxing for England at the time, and we boxed for a belt, the East Midlands title belt, and I lost the fight, the first one, and I lost it unanimously. But after the fight, I took a lot of learnings from it, and I asked for the rematch. I took the rematch on her show, and I lost on a split decision, which I was gutted about because I thought I'd done enough. But again, I took the learnings from it and I challenged her again. So this time we went on neutral ground and I actually won her on a split decision because I took the learnings. I didn't give up. So I took the win by split decision. And then about a year later, I'd not heard anything from her. Then about a year later, we went over to Ireland on an all-female box cup. And I was in one semi-final and she was in the other, and we both won our semi-finals, so we had boxed each other in the final, and then I went and won her unanimously. So I feel like the progression and me not giving up and wanting to win her. And then after that fight, I was awarded the best overseas boxer belt, so that's the biggest highlight. That story, that's the biggest highlight of my amateur career, I think. And then professional wise, I'd say just in general, turning professional, it was a big thing that for me to do. So just turning professional and then going to Barrow and doing my debut and doing it in front of such a big crowd that I wasn't used to. I'd boxed in front of big crowds before, but nothing like that. So yeah, those two. And then getting the stoppage as well on my debut. So, and the PBC title, the silver title in my first fight. So they're my two.
Ladies and gentlemen, a rising tide lifts all boats, and we know that Nicola the Hurricane Hopewell is going to be that rising tide that is going to lift us. So, Juliet Winter, I hope you know that a hurricane is coming and you better run for cover because April the 24th is coming, and I think your days are going to be numbered because Nicola the Hurricane Hopewell is going to hit you like you've never been hit before. For you, my friend, I want to give you the floor. And it's been a tremendous honor to speak with you. I can't wait to watch you in the ring here on April the 24th. And I want to one more time acknowledge the entire team here at Sportinarium, Assassins Promotions, and especially Lakey and Arv and Richie and Steve and Sean with Sportinarium, who've done such a great job in promoting this fight and promoting women's boxing as a whole. But for you, Nicola, I want to give you the floor. Any closing thoughts you want to share with our worldwide audience listening here on Sportinarium? Also, please plug all of your social media. If you want to plug also your sponsors and all of their social media so we can find out all the great things that they are doing to help you be the kind of person that you are inside and outside the ring, you're more than welcome to do that. So I want to give you the floor. Anything you want to say to our worldwide audience listening here on Sportinarium, please plug one more time all of your social media. And if you want to plug your sponsors' social media, please do that as well. And I can't thank you enough, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, so please tune in on the 24th of April on Fight TV. It's free to watch, so just download the app and tune in. Check me out on my Instagram and my Twitter and give me a follow. So it's at Boxer Hopewell. And then my sponsors, so massive shout out to them. So KC Sofas, Postcutter Mansfield, Round One Boxing, Jack Ball Nutrition, and Richards Boxing. Thank you for having me on as well.
Absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, this is why you need to tune in to Fight TV on April the 24th because Nicola Hopewell is going to rock Juliet Winter like a hurricane. So you know what you need to do. You need to tune into Fight TV April the 24th. It's coming up here. We cannot wait for that. And Nicola, congratulations on all the success. I'm looking forward to watching you on April the 24th. I'm looking forward to speaking with you after the fight. You get another knockout and you continue this journey. And we're looking forward to talking about it here in the future. And I also want to one more time give a huge shout out to Chris Boyle and everybody else here at Sportinarium. And I can't thank you enough for the opportunity. And I'm looking forward to speaking with you soon and knock them dead out there on the 24th, champ.
Thank you.
As we're here on the Sports Report, the number one global sports show with Nicola Hurricane Hopewell. As I am the host of the Sports Report, the Reverend Tom Brice, and stay tuned for more Sportinarium-related news because we're going to have on Arv Mitu, who's the host of the Spartans Boxing Show and who's a pretty good fighter in his own right. We're going to not only talk about Nicola, but we're also going to talk about his career and everything else going on here at the station. So this is a real treat. Stay tuned for that, as we were just with Nicola the Hurricane Hopewell, who's getting ready for a huge fight on April the 24th. On Fight TV against Juliet Winter, as I am the host of the Sports Report, the Reverend Tom Brice, and stay tuned for more hard-hitting analysis here on Sportinarium and the Sports Report as we're about to talk with Arv Mitu, host of the Spartans Boxing Show.